sometimes you have to fire a client, right? Because you may be achieving the expectations that they have, but they're insatiable in their desires and they just keep moving the goalposts further and further. And it's taking up more time and resources than you think it's worth, right? And
Mhm.
they're leeching off the system. And it's essentially the wrong client. It's poor alignment. Has that ever happened to you? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. A great question. And unfortunately, it's inevitable at some level of scale in any business, right? And so having client criteria is very, very important. And you're not going to get it all right day one, but as long as you continue to take feedback from your relationships and build upon that, and then train your sales team on it as well, and make sure that they're incentivized to fall in line with those criteria and not sell people who shouldn't be sold to, then you're going to get better and better at avoiding that happening over time. In terms of an agency specifically, and this could apply to a lot of businesses, when should you fire a client is if I would say one, if they are expecting you to be Atlas and lift the entire world on your shoulders and not put in work on their part in return as well, in the sense that um, upfront in a new client relationship, we always see better results when we have stronger communication. And then we do get to the point with a lot of our clients to where after we've gone through that initial period of communication and alignment, then it becomes more hands off, just like any new thing that you start, right? You want to micromanage upfront and then you can macro manage over time as they get in a great spot.
Yeah.
And sometimes clients will come in and not engage whatsoever from the start. And that makes things more difficult. And we'll check in, we don't get fast responses or whatever, and it's just not a priority for them. And then next thing you know, you get feedback 30, 45 days later. They're like, I don't like this, this, and this. It's like, well, we weren't aware of that. And, we have tried to reach out and get that feedback. And those are things that can make a relationship more difficult. Other times, clients want you to do much more than what was determined in the scope up front. Right. And so if they want you to start tacking on X, Y, and Z and all these additional responsibilities or whatever the case, and expecting that versus wanting to have a conversation around it and seeing if it's a possibility, that can start to cause friction in the relationship. And you have to determine whether or not you, as the business owner, want to comply with that and do it for them or not, and how you're going to navigate that approach. And then also, over time, we've unfortunately made some mistakes in terms of like who really is the best fit for our service. And an example would be we now have the criteria in place that if we're going to come in and build you an entire sub account network of anywhere from 25 to 40 plus additional sub accounts and have a full team around this, we have not seen consistent 100% success rates when it's a brand that's just getting started or they don't already have proven content themselves. Sometimes we've been able to make that work because we can do so much more experimenting, right? But other times we haven't been able to make it work. And a lot of the time we're only as good as our client. And so we can only work with what they provide us at the end of the day. And we can experiment as much as possible with that. But there's been instances to where we haven't been able to find those winning post types or get it off the ground, and then things are not where we want it to be in a 90-day time frame. So now we have the client criteria to where um, we will only build the sub account for a brand if they're already getting 10,000 or more views on average per post, or at least we disclose that up front. And some people still really want it because they see the value in mass experimentation. And so we'll still move forward in those instances as well. But if a client is not getting 10,000 or more views per post, then what we tend to do in that instance is we'll do things at a smaller level. So we manage their main socials first, and then maybe we create one set of sub accounts across platforms that allows us to still test 6 to 8 different post types and formats every month to first find those winning post types and find those winning formats that go viral. And then once we find that and we start creating more and more of it, then you can start to throw fuel on the fire with sub accounts and really do things at scale where you're going to get a much bigger bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Right. So those are things that we've learned over time
Yeah.
that we didn't know day one.
Yeah. And it sounds like you learn these lessons by working with the wrong avatars, right? Like these are
Yes.
painful lessons where you end up partnering with a company where it's like you had the best of intentions, but they either weren't willing to do the work in terms of, you know, creative content, right? And you're sort of limited in what you can do. And therefore, algorithmically, if they're not creating enough content, they're not going to get enough views, right? Somebody else, right, that's more, sort of programmatic with their cadence is just going to get more views. Why? Because, social media wants content to sell ads, right? The more diversified content that they have and the higher amount of, the more cadence that they have from that avatar, right? The more ads that they can sell. And so I think it's interesting you end up learning these lessons in real time. I think there's so many business owners that wait for confidence to sort of manifest,
Mhm.
that wait for the results to sort of appear in front of them. And I think that is a hangover from when they used to work in industry, right? So before they transition to working as an entrepreneur, they're sort of gifted results by working in close connection with other departments, right? It's sort of more, it's a more of a team effort per se. And they sort of get, their it's like working on a film when you're just the gaffer. Like, well, we won an Academy Award, but you were the gaffer, right? You held a microphone. You you moved a light. In business and entrepreneurship, the confidence doesn't come from theory; it comes from action. And unfortunately, action and motion, it's not always with it's not always in the right direction. A lot of times entrepreneurs will realize that like, hey, opportunity is a ladder and I'm going to lay it against this wall and I'm going to climb that ladder and I'm going to get to the top and I'm going to realize that I probably put my ladder against the wrong building. And that wrong building could be the wrong client or, which is interesting for media scaling, it could also be a client in the wrong industry. So I would love it if you could talk a little bit about the industries that you specialize in. Like you're in Cooperstown, right? You can have anything you want, right? Who is the ideal client avatar for media scaling?
Truly, the industry does not matter much at all. It's much more about the business itself. Who is the best fit that we really specialize in working with are high ticket businesses, whether it's high ticket products or services. That's who we specialize in. We are not as experienced or built for, low ticket ecom brands or more like low ticket consumer brands. That's not our zone of genius. High ticket is. So that's one thing that we look for. And then on top of that, we either look
So
for,
is sorry, real quick. So, can I interrupt?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I'm not
of
familiar
course.
with what high ticket necessarily means. Can you explain what
Got it.
that
Yeah.
means?
Okay. Yeah, I should have specified. So high ticket, I would define as selling the core offer of their product or service at $3,000 or more. Low ticket would be less than that amount. And really low ticket is a lot of e-commerce brands or software companies or whatever that they'll sell 20 to $100 products, or a term in business is LTV, lifetime value, right? And maybe they have an LTV of in the hundreds of dollars or about $1,000. A lot of software companies need to go out and raise capital because they will be unprofitable for a long time, depending on what capital is put into the business. But they know that their LTV per customer is $1,000 over the course of 2 years, and so they'll spend $300 and lose a lot of money up front, knowing that they're going to profit longer term. Those are not the businesses that we've seen the most success with, or that we're really built for. We know if we're going in and working with a business that has a high ticket service or product, $3,000 or more, a lot of the time it gets to $10,000 or more, that we're very quickly and much more confidently able to create a meaningful ROI for them that's attributed to our service. And there's plenty of them out there. And so that's our niche, right? And then the second piece of it are businesses who are actively creating content or committed to starting, one of the two, right? And if you check both of those boxes, we now have a full stack of offers that can meet you with where you're starting from, to be able to work with almost any business in those buckets that are doing $10,000 or more per month in revenue. Like that's our minimum criteria. And then we have clients that do, some of our largest enterprise clients are doing billions per year in online sales and revenue, and then everything in between. So those are the main two factors. In terms of the industries, we've worked across 60 plus industries at this point. And I will actually say, I think that quote unquote boring businesses have a bigger advantage today versus the most common industries that you see on social media?